What's up, guys? Hope you're doing well. I want to share a story with y'all. Hey, quick update. If you watched my video yesterday, you know that one, I'm updating my lighting game. Two, I tried to get a mic. I have it. You can see it right here. Looks pretty cool. It does not work with phones. So, right now I recorded my phone. So here we are. My laptop picture is not of a high enough quality to warrant its use, but maybe I'll get a little desktop recording set up, and then maybe I'll have a phone with a little lapel mic or something for the on-the-go videos. But here we are. Story for y'all of a way God has protected me. He has protected me from political radicalization. Now, this might be a little touchy if you're like, what do you mean? But man, I think for my personality type, I am an Enneagram 1, and I am also a D on the DISC test, and I just really value decision-making, strategy, perfectionism, idealism. I would be one that would be more prone than most to thinking about how we can have the best society possible. And I actually do think about those things a lot. I'm not what you would call like disinterested or apathetic politically, but what I mean from the statement of God saving me from political radicalization is essentially that I don't have my eternal hope placed in one governmental system, or generally speaking, placed in political solutions. And I think the radicalization, so that's the political piece of it, is, man, I know, and I guess I internally deep down have always known that a system is not the ultimate answer. It doesn't woo like the strongest place in my heart, and it doesn't require the most thought out of anything I think about, because ultimately I think lots of different systems could work if you put the right people in the system. Like if everyone is living an integrous and pure-hearted life, I think that covers a multitude of inefficiencies from a governmental perspective. And the opposite is also true, where the more that people are incredibly sinful, destructive, deceitful, greedy, like those things are hard to mitigate for, even with the best system, if all of the inputs into the society are, generally speaking, like cancerous personalities or just emotional and spiritual health, kind of like toxic people. And I would say more people than not in our world are self-interested, not selfless, and it's going to be hard to run an efficient society where everyone is really only incentivized to think about themselves. So anyways, that's the political piece of it. The radicalization piece of it is not just, hey, I'm super passionate about this political solution, but also I'm almost not even just an evangelist for it, but almost like a assassin for it, like the amount of vigilance that people have gone through to support their political party or their political ideal. You know, the amount of critical or derogatory or sarcastic or hateful speech that people have thrown on their social media profiles in support of or primarily motivated by their political ideals. The amount of shame that people have cast towards other people, the amount of relationships that have been adopted or severed due to sameness or difference in political ideology, the weaponization of political ideals that has created classes of people, and ultimately it hasn't necessarily led to a super healthy and life-giving and fun society. I think for a lot of people it's caused anxiety, it's caused loneliness, it's caused depression, it's caused fear, it's caused this tendency of, let me just keep what I really think to myself, because I don't want to say something wrong. And if I do say something, let me add 10 qualifiers after I say it, just to make sure that everyone knows that I'm a nice person, because if they don't think I'm a nice person, then who knows what's going to happen to me, you know? And I'm kind of bleeding into several different things, but ultimately the political radicalization, again, on the politics side, I feel like God's protected me from the tendency to think that the main thing we need, the most important thing we need, the thing I should care the most about is a specific governmental system or solution. I do not think that is true, and I feel like God is, even though I've bit at that before, I feel like God has protected me by and large from just feasting on that narrative. And then the radicalization piece, I would say God's protected me from, and by that what I mean is, even to the extent that I have embraced this or that worldview or lean towards this or that political preference or whatever, which I honestly don't have very many leanings, at least that I'm conscious of. But even to the extent that I have them, I don't feel like I have defined who's in and who's out on who I fanboy over or who I befriend or who I counsel or whoever. It's not primarily viewed through this political lens. And I think that's something that, especially since 2020, has been a struggle for a lot of people. It's kind of the radicalization, the weaponization, the extremism of politics and political discourse no longer being a friendly intellectual curiosity. Let's all learn, let's all grow, let's be wrong. But it's been, there's this way or there's that way, and whichever way you choose, there's lots of subways under these ways, and you better get in with the order, otherwise you're out and whatever. And almost like this, it's just almost like it's a religion in and of itself. And man, God's protected me from that. I'm not that guy. And it's probably because of my wing 9 people pleaser or keep the peace. I have some of that baked into me of I don't really want to just ruffle a bunch of feathers unnecessarily, but it's not just like I'm stuffing it in and I really wish I could just tell everyone blank as it relates to my political views or whatever. It's really like, no, I actually genuinely don't suffer from the radicalized or the politicized or the combination of those two words, sized view of life. And I see people as individuals. That is generally how I view them. Of course, we all still have our stereotypes. You have your, whatever. It takes 10 seconds to create your first impression or whatever those stats are. That's a thing. But generally speaking, I'm not putting someone in a box based on where they lean politically. And I'm super thankful for that. It feels like protection. It saved me from a lot of heartache, a lot of anger, a lot of grief, a lot of confusion, a lot of sadness. Saved me from a lot of time that I could have spent sifting through hours and hours and hours and hours of who knows what latest article or research or political thought. And it's freed me up to focus on things that I think ultimately are actually not just a hair, but significantly more important than which system I think is the best system, especially if I'm not even in a position to create that system or propagate that system. Jeez. Soapbox for another day. But hey, the testimony is God's protected me. Sorry if I ruffled anyone's feathers here, talking about the big bad P word, politics. Ooh. Tell you what, we were really getting some flow on the YouTube algorithm. They were really pushing us out to the masses, but now that I use the P word, it's over. Just kidding. All right, that's all I got for y'all. Talk to y'all soon. Life is worship. God is love.